Good evening and welcome back. This is James Maupin, and I am back for week 2 of my podcast. If you are new, I will refresh you in what this podcast is addressing. This podcast is about how reaching your goals in the gym is the same as reaching your goals as a musician. Once again, I am addressing the parallels for how reaching success in the gym is the same as reaching your goals as a musician. So, for this week, in terms of talking goals, I want to talk about long-term discipline, how to stay mindful, and when to reward yourself. So in case you weren't aware, I am a powerlifter as well as a trumpet player studying music performance in his undergrad. And overall, I am speaking from my experience on each of these subjects as a powerlifter and as a musician. So for long-term discipline, in case you didn't already know, I have been overweight for most of my life, good majority of it, and I've always, no matter what age I was, always wanted to lose weight. The thing is, I have attempted to go to the gym and get into a workout routine with a diet and plan and all that. I was unsuccessful for the good majority of them. It actually was not until just last year when I finally felt like I made a breakthrough in how to build a sense of long-term discipline. So for me, as a person who wanted to lose weight, the biggest thing for me is I could easily break my goal and say, it's okay, I want to go and make a very destructive decision, such as to go eat a very unhealthy out of fast food or not exercise, even though I know I should. And the problem for me was I couldn't overpower it. I couldn't stop this feeling I would get that I wanted to eat, that I wanted to not go to the gym. And once I would make this behavior, once I would go to the gym, go get food when I know I shouldn't, I would mourn about it afterwards. I would be very upset at myself. I would be very down. I would, all in all, want to give up on my goals the second that I had any sort of little setback. So in terms of long-term discipline, from my journey of losing weight and where I'm at now, I've noticed many things. The first thing I've noticed is you've got to want it. You've got to want to achieve your goal. You just have to. When I was at my heaviest weight, the only thing I could think about was losing that weight. That was all. I would miss class. I would sit in class completely unfocused because all I was thinking about was how bad I wanted to achieve my goals. The thing is, the long-term discipline just couldn't. It's one thing you just have to keep in the back of your head. If you want this goal, you've got to want it. It's got to stay in the back of your head. You have to subconsciously be always thinking about it. In terms of being a musician, I've been playing since I was 6 years old, and I've always wanted to get better. The problem is, nobody wants to take the time to do it, because it takes the same thing. You have to discipline yourself to practice. You have to discipline yourself to get better. All in all, you really want to be that person who is playing on the stage of Carnegie Hall, or you want to be that person who is selling out concerts left and right. But the truth is, if you don't practice, it's not going to get anywhere. And the thing is, learning discipline is very possible for anybody, but maintaining it takes almost more discipline than learning the discipline itself. So once you're in the midst of all these goals, once it gets hard, it's very easy to quit. Everybody knows that. I can say that I have quit my goals many times. I know many people who have done the same, and it's very tough to stay mindful of it. So one of the tricks that I did when I really didn't want to practice, but I knew that I absolutely had to, I would remind myself why I am accountable for it. One of the things I learned is that you can only hold yourself accountable in order to stay mindful. If you want to stay mindful of your goal, you can only hold yourself accountable. You cannot blame any of your mistakes on anybody else. Even if you are so strongly convinced that this person screwed you over or that this person really did this when really it was just you needing to own up to your own mistake, because it is easy to put blame on others. So when it came to trumpet playing, whenever I needed to practice but I absolutely didn't want to, I would remind myself how I was accountable. One of the oldest quotes that I've heard is, if you ever feel like giving up, remember why you started. And that is a quote that has stuck with me forever. So the trick is, when you are feeling unmotivated, you have to find ways to remember why you started. For me, I have many photos of myself when I was at my absolute heaviest weight, and still to this day, I have a picture of myself as my lock screen with that one photo from when I was at my heaviest weight. Everybody is always checking their phones. I mean, it's 2020. Who doesn't check their phone every 10 minutes? So here I am, whenever I have had a long day, have had a hard day, and all I want to do is not practice whenever I'm feeling unmotivated and I don't want to go to the gym, whenever I'm feeling like I have a reason why I shouldn't be working towards any of my goals, I remember why I started. For the gym, I use that photo of myself. Whenever I get the urge to go to McDonald's and all of a sudden I'm in the drive-thru, I look at my phone, take a glance at that phone screen. I see myself from when I was at my heaviest weight, and it brings back all of my motivation for why I started working on my goals in the first place. So that really is the trick to stay mindful. You have to find creative ways to always remind yourself of why you started. When it comes to being a musician, I remember the reason I started, despite how young I was when I started this talent, I have to always remind myself to stay mindful of how much I enjoyed it as a little kid and how much I enjoy it now, no matter how stressful it is and no matter how unmotivated I stay at times. As a personal career goal, I really want to perform on a cruise ship. That is my ultimate career goal. I want to be performing on a cruise ship, playing Caribbean jazz, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. The thing is, when here I am in school, pursuing my undergrad to be a professional trumpet player, I feel unmotivated because the day's been harsh, or so-and-so did this and I'm unmotivated, or I'm pissed off, or I'm mad, and all of them. I have to remind myself, reimagine myself, refocus myself to being that trumpet player that will be touring on a cruise ship. Whenever you are chasing one of your goals, it's always about how disciplined you can stay. The problem is, no matter what, you have to remind yourself to reward yourself. No matter what, no matter how long-term your goal is, or even if it's short-term, you will fail if you do not reward yourself for the hard work that you've done. For me, when I was in the peak of my powerlifting and was getting stronger, wanted to get stronger by the day, every single strength training workout I did, of course, naturally my appetite was through the roof and I wanted to eat. The problem is I had to stay disciplined and eat only what was on my diet. The problem was I absolutely had to stick to this diet, or I knew I wasn't going to reach my goals. I found that no matter what, I would have to reward myself for all of the hard work that I had done. So on Saturdays or Sundays, whichever day of the week that preferably I wasn't training, I would take a 2 to 3 hour window and I would eat whatever I wanted. A lot of people refer to it as a cheat meal, but I would like to refer to it as more than that, because I like to set myself time limits, not like meal limits towards when I could cheat on my diet. And that's how it was. No matter what your goal is, no matter where you are at in your journey towards reaching your goal, you always have to reward yourself for any progress that is made. And often that is done by, for a brief time, resorting back to old habits and satisfying what you've been staying so disciplined to not do for so long. When it comes to being a musician, the way I reward myself is I will take breaks. I will take a certain amount of time to where I don't practice, where I set my instrument down and focus on other parts of my life for however long that may be, whether it's 2 days or a few weeks. I always have to remind myself that I'm human. I have to remind myself that there is more to my own life than just playing this instrument, and that it is very healthy and very safe to set it down and focus on other things and take a break for a while. Anyway, thank you for joining my podcast tonight. This is James Maupin. Have a good evening.